Hello YouTube, this is Chris with 3G3D. Today we're going to look at installing a radar detector in a 2025 Tesla Model Y without having to cut into the factory harness with any type of a splice or a tap, and instead we're going to use the pigtail that you can get from Tesla or eBay, and I'll put links below to the eBay listing that I used or the Tesla part number that you'll need. Today we're going to look at removing these panels here. We'll remove this panel here, this panel here, and then the kick panel along the bottom here. You're also going to have to remove this weather stripping here in order to access the wiring back behind this panel. Okay, in order to remove these panels, the first thing we're going to do is pull this weather stripping loose here. And all you do is just hook your fingers under there and just pull it loose. And once you get that weather stripping pulled loose, you can pry this panel off here. And it's clipped in up here at the top with a little clip that you can see here. Fits into that slot. Here's the clip here that goes into that slot. And then it has a plastic part that goes in down behind this panel here. If you just pull it up, you can see there's that little tab that fits down in behind this panel. And then when you go to reinstall it, you just snap that clip back into place. So we'll remove that panel. And once you do that, you can remove this triangular shaped panel here. It just pops out. And then you can pull this panel here loose. And in order to remove that panel, there's a small button here that you have to remove. So we'll go ahead and use our pry tool to pop this clip loose. And what you want to do is, this is clipped down in here. And as you can see, there's a little slot here on the top. You can get your little pry tool behind to pop this part out, and that allows this to pull out of the panel. And then you can just pull it loose and it unclips just like that. And what you're trying to access is this little carpeted panel right here, so you can get down in there to the wiring. So we'll just move that panel out of the place for now. And down here on the carpeted panel, there's another one of those pins that you can see right here. And we'll pry that out in the same way we did the other one. Just get the little tool there behind it, pop it out. Then you can remove the pin. Go ahead and take it out of the carpet and set it to the side so you don't drop it down in behind here. And then you can just pull the carpet and the little foam panel back. And once you unclip the carpet down here, you can pull the panel back just enough, because the plug that we're trying to access is this one right here. And this plug here is used for the trailer brake controller when you're towing a trailer if you want a brake control. But what we're going to use it for is to power our radar detector. Okay, in order to power the radar detector using the trailer brake controller plug, what you're going to need to do is get one of these harnesses, these adapters. You can pick it up from eBay or you can pick it up from Tesla. And if you're looking at it, if you have the plug over to your left with the little tab pointing up, the wire on the bottom is going to connect to the red wire to your radar detector, and the wire on the top is going to connect to the black wire. If you look at it this way from the wiring side, you'll see there are actually 4 wires in here, but we're only going to use 2 of them. The other 2 you can just tape off, or you can put some heat shrink on them to keep them from making contact with anything inside the kick panel. But again, this one came from eBay, so the wiring colors are not OEM. So what you'll need to do is, if you hold the plug in your left hand with the tab on the top, little push tab here, the one on the top, on mine, they just happen to be reversed, but the one on the top will connect to the black wire of your radar detector, and the one on the bottom will connect to the red wire. I have my radar detector mounted on top of the screen here, and I wanted it mounted there because I felt that mounting it up here on the mirror blocked too much of my windshield view. If you have it hanging down below here, you've got, you know, a little bit more of your windshield blocked by the radar detector hanging under here. And also I found it extremely hard to find a mount that would clamp onto here and not affect being able to move the rear view mirror. So what I did was I took one of these phone mounts, just a magnetic folding phone mount, and it sticks behind the back of the screen here. On the bottom of the radar detector, I put one of these metal plates, and it attaches magnetically to the phone mount there. Now I used one of these plates. I found that the rings that come with some of these phone mounts, it just acts like a MagSafe ring, was not strong enough and the radar detector would fall off. So I picked up one of these plates. It just sticks on there with double-sided tape, and it just sits right there on top of the screen just like that. And when you get ready to put it away, you can simply unplug the cable there, take the radar detector off, put it in your center console, and you can fold this down, and then you can't see anything as far as messing up the cleanness of the interior here. And here's a view of the back of the screen that shows the phone mount. It's attached with double-sided tape, and then the cable just runs through a hole there in the mount that kind of keeps the cable in place and keeps the end up there by the mount so it doesn't fall down behind the screen, and it's easy to get to. See, then the cable just runs down beside the screen, and then we'll tuck it into the dash. And here we are up under the steering wheel, and you can see we ran the cable down beside the screen. And then what we'll do, we'll tuck it in through here, and you can either just poke it in there with your finger, or you can use your trim tool. What we want to do here is there's a little gap in between these two panels, and you can see it here. We're just going to tuck the cable in there, and that will allow the cable to go behind this panel here and be hidden away and go directly into the kick panel. So we can take our trim tool, just kind of poke it in there, take your trim tool and make sure it goes in so it'll go behind that panel. Work your way along this edge here until you get all the way over to the kick panel. You can go along with your finger and just tuck it into that groove, that seam there to start with, and then you can come back with your trim tool and tuck it in there nice and neat so it goes in behind the panel and isn't just stuck here in this groove. And then over here on this side, you can see here where the cable comes out. You can kind of give it a little, pull it a little bit, and that'll make sure that it's all tucked in nice and neat. And that's just to keep it neat and out of the way. And again, we want to get to this plug right here. That's where our little pigtail is going to plug in. It's going to plug in right here. Okay, in order to make the connection, we've got two of these little clip-on connectors here. They make a good solid connection without having to solder. If you want to solder these in, you can. I've just got them clipped on here because they seem to, they're nice and solid. They're not going to come off very easily. And we've got one clipped on the red wire and one clipped on the black wire. So then we have our pigtail here. And remember, the one on the top, that one will connect to the black wire from the radar detector connector. So we'll just put it in there, clip the little clip down. You can see it's a good solid connection. And on the red wire, which on this one is yellow, put it in the little connector there, clip it down. We've got a good solid connection. And then the other two wires, which if you have the plug here, are the two wires that are in the back. You can just clip those off, tape them down, just to keep them from making any contact while they're tucked in here in the panel. All that's left now is to plug in the pigtail here into the trailer brake controller plug there. And in order to do that, take your pigtail, and the clip on it faces towards the outside of the car. Plug it in. You can see it fits right in there, and then you just push it until it clicks into place, and then you're done. All you have left to do is to tidy up your wires. It's not permanent. All you do is just unplug the pigtail here and remove the wiring that you tucked into the dash, and then everything can be removed. And then once you're done connecting everything up, you got everything taped up, there's a small cavity back here in this footwell, so you can put the carpet and everything back in place like it's supposed to be. So we'll just tuck those in there. They just tuck right back in there. Got everything nice and neat. See there, we're plugged in right here, so we have our power and our ground for our radar detector harness, and then all of the carpet and padding and everything just fits right back into place. Take your pin here, make sure it's popped out like this here, goes back in the carpet here, goes back in the carpet just like this here. Then you just push the center part back in, and then we can start putting our panels back in place. This one here that runs along the door sill, it just clips back in place in a few spots. You take your other plastic pin here, clips back into the hole in the top here. Then you just push the center back in and it clips into place. And that holds that panel in. Then you put your triangular piece back in, and it has some plastic pins here that go in these slots. Just set it on there, line it up, snap it back into place. Now when you're putting this piece back in, remember, pay attention because it does have this plastic tab down here at the bottom. So you want to make sure that you put that in first, and then this clip here is going to go into that slot there. But you want to make sure you put the bottom in and behind the lower piece. You can bring it up, line it up, and it just snaps right back into place. Then everything is back, and then the weather stripping here, it fits over the edge of the body panel here, and you just push it all back into place. And however much you pulled off, just go along, stick it all back on all the way around, and then you're done. Okay, now you're going to see that when I close the door, the power to the radar detector does turn off. So it's okay. I hope that explained to everyone how to use the trailer brake controller pigtail that you can either pick up from Tesla for around $5 or so if you have a service center nearby, or you can get it off of eBay for around $8 to $10 shipped. Thanks, everyone.